What's up, guys? It's your boy Treya, and today I'm here to show you what I was able to draft for the Pokemon Ultra Draft League Season 2. I would say that this is probably my favorite team that I've been able to assemble since returning to draft back in February. So, my favorite draft of all of Gen 9. And before we get into it, I just wanted to give a little update. As far as the BBR and the JJDL videos go, we'll start with the BBR. Unfortunately, I won't be able to, or I would say, I'm not going to post the battles. The reason for that is during all three of my matches, I was extremely sick. I could barely form complete sentences without having to cough or drink a crap ton of water just to keep my throat from drying out or throwing up. It was just a very bad time. The recordings looked like crap, and I honestly just couldn't focus on the game as much as I wanted to. Um, so with that being said, I do still have all of the video if I wanted to do post commentary on them, but I really just am not a fan of doing that, especially for Wi-Fi leagues. And this is also a very busy time for me at work, and I just don't think I'd have the time to try to go through and edit those the way I would want to produce some kind of good content for those. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to post those. Spoiler alert: I did lose all three of my matches. I think two of them, if a little bit of luck would have went my way, I think I could have definitely pulled out the win. And then the other one, I just got outplayed in prep by not bringing removal, and I got hazard stacked to death. Um, but it is what it is. I didn't advance into the second round, so obviously no more videos for that. And then as far as the JJDL Season 2 goes, kind of a similar story. I was extremely sick during my first two matches. The first match was like probably the worst day I had while I was sick, and I could barely even sit up in my chair just to do the battle. I didn't even bother recording it because I knew I wasn't going to post it. But I woke up, I did the match, and I went straight back to bed, and I slept for like 13 hours. And that's just how most of my sick days went. And then the only other reason I didn't want to continue posting the JJDL, despite the fact that I missed the last three from being sick, or the last three matches from being sick, was that it's started to dawn on me that recording showdown leagues is just a very hard thing to do if there's no timer, just because the matches can go on forever if there's no timer. You can take 5+ minutes every turn just to run calcs and make your decisions. I believe it was my week 2 match. Took probably about 45 minutes maybe, or something ridiculous like that. And I just don't have the time right now to try to edit through footage to cut down the downtime. And so I just didn't think it would be very pleasing for people to watch. And so unfortunately, I won't be posting those either. I'm probably going to stick to just Wi-Fi as long as I can keep finding Wi-Fi leagues to play in. Hopefully, I will get invited to some more. And then also maybe if I can find a showdown league with timer enforced, I would love to play in one of those too, because showdown's just a lot easier and it's more convenient for people, obviously. But yeah, that takes care of that. Let's go ahead and get right into this. So going into this, I wanted to have fun more than anything. And so my first priority was I wanted to draft something that I had not used before or I hadn't used in a long time. And that was kind of the theme for almost everything that I drafted. And so my main two Pokemon that I wanted to pick up first were either Dragapult, who I still have yet to use despite playing in tons and tons of leagues. I have yet to use Dragapult, and then Ursaluna Blood Moon. Ursaluna Blood Moon seems like a lot of fun. Regular Ursaluna is probably one of my top 5 favorite draft Pokemon, so I wanted to try out Blood Moon. Unfortunately, I ended up getting the 7th pick, so obviously Dragapult did not make it to me. Ursaluna Blood Moon I was very hopeful for, but my good friend Tibbs, who's actually my week 1 opponent for this league, ended up taking Ursaluna Blood Moon first. And so when I was sitting there looking through the tiers, I'm sure you guys have had this feeling. It's just like you're looking through the tiers and it's like nothing is appetizing. Like there's nothing that you really wanted to pick up. Like I've used Iron Bundle before. It's not fun. Chi-Yu, Cinderace, Greninja, Great Tusk, Garchomp. Like I've used them all before. and just none of them were really like that Pokemon I wanted to play with, especially in my second Wi-Fi league, my first full Wi-Fi league. And so I decided to go with a Pokemon that I've definitely drafted before. I think I've drafted it 4 or 5 times now since coming back to Gen 9, which is a lot. Um, and it's always put in work for me. It is well known to be my favorite Pokemon in all of Draft League. And when I saw it on the board and I didn't really like anything else that was left, I knew I had to pick it up. So the first thing that we drafted is going to be my best friend, Torn T. So Torn T, like I said, it's my favorite Pokemon in Draft League. It's so diverse. You can run it a plethora of different ways. You can put boots on it, assault vest, you can specs it, you can even band it, you can scarf it if you need to outspeed something like Dragapult or anything faster than 121. Um, it's got amazing utility. It's got the best ability in the game in Regenerator. It's got things like Taunt. It's got amazing coverage. With it gaining knockoff back was huge for it. It's got Hurricane, Bleak Windstorm. It gets Heat Wave, Grass Knot, Chilling Water, Psychic, Sludge Bomb. It's got basically anything, any kind of coverage you need. And it even gets Icy Wind for the ×4 ice weaknesses like Garchomp and Dragonite. And so even though I wanted to have fun, I still wanted to try to do my best. And this team ended up being one of my favorite teams I've ever drafted. And so I do want to take this team all the way so I can play as many games with it. And if I really want to win games, I'm going to draft Tornty. And so that's why we drafted it. Now going into the second pick, this one was definitely more of a personal thing. I drafted this Mon once before and did not do it justice at all. So we ended up running it back with my boy Harambe. So we got Monkey Dory again. I did not do him justice in BBR. I think I got maybe 1 or 2 kills per game with it, so he overall did well, but he deserves to be on a winning team, and I went 0-3 in that tournament. And so I definitely think that it's very deserving to run it back. Him and Torn T are going to be great together. You know, Monkey Dory, Toxic Chain Parting Shot, or Toxic Chain U-Turn, or Parting Shot with Torn T Regenerator U-Turn. They're going to be bouncing back and forth all the time. And I think they're going to be able to break for each other very well. They cover each other's counters pretty well. And so I'm very excited to use those. And Toxic Chain is just such a good ability. And I think I'm going to be able to take advantage of it with some of the next few picks that I picked up. So going into the next pick, I decided to go ahead and start picking up some defensive pieces. And I wanted to pick up another Pokemon that got a decent buff in DLC. So we decided to go ahead and pick up Empoleon. So Empoleon's a Pokemon that I have not used since returning to draft. I think I used it a couple times back in Gen 7, and it was amazing. So I wanted to go ahead and try to run it back. Empoleon, it's a great bulky water. It's a good steel type. It's got decent coverage. You can run it physical or special. It's got Defiance, a good ability. Could be a low-key sweeper late game. I think it still lost Defog, if I remember correctly. I'm going to look real quick so that way I'm not just talking out of my ass here. If I remember correctly, I think Empoleon lost Defog. Yeah, but it did get Flip Turn. It's got Knockoff, and it got Roost back in DLC. That was the main thing that I was really excited about, is that it got Roost back. And it was just, it's always been one of my favorite Pokemon. It's my favorite Gen 4 starter. And so I was just very excited to be able to pick this up. Obviously, it shares the electric weakness with Torn and the ground weakness with Monkey Dory, but we're going to make up for those with our later picks. And overall, I just thought this was a great Pokemon. And like you saw in my BBR video, or my BBR draft, I do like Volt Turn cores. And so far, we have a Flip Turn and 2 U-turns and a Parting Shot on the team. And we're just going to keep that trend going as we keep going down the list. I'm a big fan of Switch Initiative. It's probably my favorite way to play draft. So that's what we're going to continue to do. So going into my next pick, I wanted to pick something that I thought could complement Monkey Dory and Torn really well. But I was also considering getting something that was more defensive. And so I kind of decided to go a little bit in the middle. I grabbed arguably the best mon that was left at the time. I think there was only one Pokemon in the point tier higher than this, but it was Manaphy, and Empoleon do not coexist. So I decided to go ahead and grab Mamoswine. So Mamoswine, I have not used this thing in a very long time. It always looks so good into me when I play against it, and so it's something that I wanted to finally try out. It just seems like a great Tusk without Rapid Spin in this generation. You really can't switch into Mamoswine. Ground Ice coverage is just very good, especially with having access to knockoff. It can be a bulky Rock Setter if I need it to. Thick Fat allows me to be something like a Chi-Yu switch in. I can run a V on it if I need to, and so I'm just very excited to be able to use Mamoswine. And it gave me a ground type that I needed to help with the Empoleon and Torntea being weak to electric, and then also not having the greatest ice switch-ins. As we go down, I still don't have the greatest ice switch-ins, so Mamoswine and Empoleon are going to be carrying that front. So going into the next pick, I was starting to think about Terra Captains. Usually this is how I like to do my drafts. I draft like my first 4 or 5 Pokemon, then start building around there. And so I was starting to think about my Terra Captains. And the rule for Terra for this league was you can have up to 3 Terra Captains, no more than, I believe, 8 points per captain, and it was a total of 15 points. So I ended up getting 3 Terra Captains, as you can see on the right. And the first one that I got was a Pokemon that I helped my friend prep a lot with, and it just seemed like a lot of fun, something that I just really wanted to end up using. And it gave me a spinner because I had, at this point, no removal. I decided to go with Morpeko. So Morpeko seems like a lot of fun. It's got a decent speed tier. It's got a good attack stat. Again, it has Volt Switch, so that's pretty interesting. It's also got Rapid Spin, like I said, and being able to Terra with Morpeko gives me Bolt Beam coverage with Terra Blast Ice and then Aura Wheel, and then I also have Terra Ghost on it on the off chance I need a Ghost type to spin block and I don't bring my Ghost type, which is my next Pokemon. I believe it's my next Pokemon. It also gets things like Knock Off. We get Fake Out with it if we need to break subs. We get Baton Pass for extra utility. Extra momentum if I can't Volt Switch because of ground types. We also get Super Fang, which could be nice, quick attack for extra priority, and we also get Taunt on this thing as well, and T-Wave. So I thought this was just a great pick. I think it fits very well with my team, and then like I said, Bolt Beam coverage on any team is just very good. So yeah, that's why we decided to pick up Morpeko as my first Terra Captain. So going into my next pick, I'm still trying to fill out holes on the team. My team is currently very weak to ground, and instead of trying to fix that, I decided to add to it. So going into my next pick, I decided to pick up... Oh no, never mind. That's the next one. My bad. So we decided to pick up Conk. Conk is one of my favorite Draft League Pokemon of all time. Every time I've picked him up, he's always been very useful. I, again, have not used him in Gen 9, even in Nadex leagues, but I know what he can do. Guts Flame Orb is always a thing. You can even run Banded, Mach Punch. Obviously, AV sets are a thing. Conk is just a very diverse Pokemon. It also gives me a Defogger. For some reason, Conkeldurr can defog. I don't know why, but I'm going to take it to the bank and run with it. We will be running Defog at least once or twice this season, and I'm very excited to use him. So at this point, I've got a very comfortable mix of new Mons that I've never drafted and then old Mons, things like Torntea and Conk. So I decided to keep the trend going with Pokemon that I have not used before. And we ended up picking up Skeledirge. So I was very shocked that Skeledirge made it all the way to round 7. And when I saw that it was still there, I had to pick it up. I've only used Skeledirge in a speed tour before, and it was very good. Torch Song is just busted. Terra Skeledirge is just a different animal, and obviously it's not allowed for good reason. But it's such a good defensive wall. Fire Ghost is a decent typing. Skeledirge walls like a lot of the good fighting types that are in this meta. Things like Sneasler it can handle very well. And that was one of the main Pokemon, because I was looking at my team, and my team kind of just gets smacked by Sneasler other than Monkey Dory. And so yeah, we decided to go ahead and pick up Skeledirge. I'm very excited to use it. It can obviously be an offensive threat or a defensive threat, depending on how I need it. Unaware is a very good ability, especially when you have some Pokemon that can be set up on. And so I was just very excited to be able to pick up Skeledirge, especially as late as I did. I did not expect it to be there. I thought I was going to have to take like Hisuian Typhlosion or Chandelure in its place. So going into my next pick, really wanted to grab a fairy here. And I was looking around and I was looking through the fairies. I saw Dachshund, I saw Florges. I was like, I've used those a lot of times before. And then I saw one fairy that I definitely have used plenty of times before. But you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This Pokemon seemed to just fit too well with this team. Its utility is insane. It's got a good speed tier for what I was looking for. And so we decided to go ahead and pick up Screamtail. So Screamtail I have used in I believe 2 leagues before, and it put in the absolute most work. Its utility is insane. It even has options to set up with like Calm Mind and Bulk Up, which sounds kind of funny, but I actually have video proof of it working. And then we also have things like T-Wave, we get Encore, we get Baton Pass, we get Wish, and we get Rocks as well, so it gives me another rocker. If Mamoswine can't slot Rocks, I think Empoleon also gets Rocks. But yeah, I thought Screamtail was just a perfect pickup for this team. Being able to wish past to things like Conk, who might be AV, or Monkey Dory to keep it alive, or Torrentee for that extra healing after Regenerator, I thought was just perfect. So Screamtail was kind of an obvious pick whenever I saw it was still left. It was either that or Florges, and Screamtail is just so much more diverse. And I really just didn't need another special breaker or hard-hitting special attacker like Florges. So we decided to pick up Screamtail. So going into my next pick, this is the Pokemon that I think I wanted from the very beginning once I saw how low it was and it was able to Terra. I do think with Terra, this Pokemon should easily be 5 or 6 points just because it's such a menace without its typing. I'm sure you can probably guess it just based off of the Terra types and the description I've gave for it. We picked up Appletun. So Appletun is one of my best friends, one of his favorite Pokemon, and so I decided to pick it up for him. He's very good at prepping with it, and so I knew he could help me. And then Appletun, like I said, it's a Pokemon I've never used before, and it's insanely good with Terra. I'm sure if you've ever played Ranbats, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That thing is annoying. Leech Seed spam is crazy. It also gets decent coverage. And then we have Terra Fire on it as well, so that way we can hit Steel types that we really can't do otherwise. And yeah, I think Appletun's going to put in a lot more work this season than I originally intended or anticipated. Yeah, I'm very excited to use it. So going into my last 2 picks, I picked up a Pokemon that I really just wanted to use for fun because I don't think I've ever seen anybody draft it in the history of ever. I originally wanted to make it a Terra Captain, but I decided to make my last pick a Terra Captain for obvious reasons. But I thought this Pokemon had more utility than a lot of people recognize, and I am very excited to put in some work with it. I'm going to pull it up right here because I actually... Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So we decided to pick up Noctowl. So Noctowl, I wanted to make it a Terra Captain. I thought it was a very sleeper pick, or a very good sleeper pick at 4 points, especially with Terra. It's got a decent special attack stat at 86. It's got a good speed tier at 70. It's pretty bulky on the special side. And it's also got decent coverage between flying and normal stab. It's got Heat Wave and Moonblast. It also gets things like Nasty Plot and Calm Mind. It gets Defog, which is another removal mon, which I needed. As Morpeko is my only spinner and Conk is my only defogger, we decided to go ahead and pick up Noctowl. Sub Nightshade is a real thing that I like to run a lot. We also get Calm Mind / Nasty Plot stored power. And then Whirlwind also is going to be very useful, so that way I can prevent people from setting up and sweeping me, as Noctowl can usually live 1 hit from anything that isn't a very hard-hitting, super effective physical move. So yeah, I was very excited to pick up Noctowl. Like I said, I wanted to make it a Terra Captain, but unfortunately I just could not slot it. Yeah, going into my last pick, Guilty pleasure Pokemon of mine. Definitely should be a lot higher than it is tiered at, especially when given Terra. This Pokemon, every time I've drafted it, it's put in the utmost of work. Every time I convince my friends to draft it, it puts in the utmost of work. Um, like I said, it's a guilty pleasure mon of mine. Another piece in the flip turn core, and I think it's going to put in a lot of work this season as a Terra captain. We decided to pick up a Alolan Persian. So a Alolan Persian at 4 points, I think already is ridiculous. I think this Pokemon is definitely a 6, maybe even 7 point Pokemon. I think it's very underrated, and I think people continue to underrate it. Fur Coat is a very stupid ability, especially when you combine it with Terra. You can just completely wall a Pokemon that you otherwise wouldn't have any answers to. It's got a great speed tier. It's got decent bulk. It specially hits okay. It gets knockoff. It's got good coverage with even things like Power Gem. It's got U-turn and Parting Shot, and I love Parting Shot. I'd say it's probably my favorite move in the game. And Parting Shot into the bulky offense that I have with Torn T, Monkey Dory, Mamoswine, Conk is just going to be very hard for my opponents to break through, and I'm just very excited to use it. We ended up picking up Terra Water on this thing, mainly because Empoleon as a bulky water is great, but sometimes it can get outclassed by certain things. And so if I ever need Alolan Persian as my bulky water instead of Empoleon, I have it there as that option. And then we also have Terra Steel. Terra Steel was there kind of because if I ever didn't bring Monkey Dory, my team just kind of loses to Toxic Spikes. And I decided to go and get Terra Steel so that way I can have a pivot that isn't weak to Toxic Spikes, and I'm not forced to run Boots if I don't have to be. And then Terra Steel is also just a very good defensive typing. Paired with Fur Coat, you can wall a lot of different physical Pokemon if they don't have fighting, ground, or fire coverage. So yeah, I decided to go ahead and pick up that. Like I said, I'm very excited about using this team. I think this is probably my favorite team that I've ever drafted. It's got a good mix of things that I'm comfortable with, like Torn and Persian and Screamtail, mixed with some of the biggest threats in the game, like Mamoswine, Conk, Monkey Dory, Skeledirge. And then it's got some very good Terra captains at the bottom with Persian and Morpeko and Appleton. Appleton's going to put in so much work. And then we have Noctowl, who's kind of like the cheerleader. We'll probably come to a game or two. But yeah, I think that's all I have for this video. Go ahead and let me know in the comments what you guys think of my team. Let me know what you think the record's going to be. If I remember correctly, I think it is a 8-week season. No? Yeah, it's an 8-week season, and then we go straight into playoffs. Like I said, let me know down in the comments what you think my record's going to be. If you guys have any critiques or comments you want to leave for the team, please do so. I'm very excited to use this team. Week 1 starts next week, so it'll be a little bit before that first week video gets out, but a team builder will be out a couple days before that. But for now, just leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.